I define words a lot because it helps me kind of like make sense of the world. And like exceptional is like an obvious one, right? We use the word exceptional like you are not like everyone else. But even saying it like that, like you are not like everyone else. And so if someone says you're not like everyone else, then you can just reframe that as like, I am exceptional. And that's not a bad thing. And I actually think that most people have, like, this might be counter to most people's beliefs, but I think most people have the potential to be exceptional. And because most people are peculiar in their own way. They just stifle that because they want to be accepted by most people, but in so doing, never accomplish what they want to do because they conform. And so, like, if there's probably a lot of things about the world or even your world around you that you're like, this never made sense to me, but then you do it anyways. And I think that a lot of innovation and a lot of what makes people exceptional is feeling, thinking that thought or seeing that thing and then being like, I don't think I'm going to follow that rule anymore. Like, why do I need to shower twice a day? Like, I don't know, like, why do I need to wear different clothing? Like, there's just a lot of these social norms that people, usually pass down to us, or they're, bred into us in high school and college and things like that. But it's like you see a guy who, wears a cowboy hat and dresses a certain way, and he basically wants to say, I am this archetype of person. But if cowboy boots aren't as comfortable for you as New Balances are, and you know that and you still wear cowboy boots, I would call you a fraud. Because like that is like it's like a micro rebellion against yourself. Yep. It's like there is, and like I look at old people a lot because usually they don't give a shit anymore. They've just like given up. And there was a survey that they did where the number one reason that old people like don't have as much drama and they're happier is they cited they literally don't have time for it. Like literally they don't have time for it. And I found that so interesting. And I was like, well, if I'm going to eventually be that way when I'm 80, I might as well just start being that way now. And so they usually wear like really comfortable footwear, and like they keep their surroundings, like whatever weird peculiarities they have, they just accept them. And so I think a lot of if life is a long journey of self-acceptance, I think the earlier you can accept your own peculiarities as just part of you rather than trying to justify them or mold to the archetype that you think is acceptable within your social circle. At least for me, like there's this period of discomfort when you change anything because everyone around you wants you to fit within the label that they are comfortable with. But everything that like business, I mean, obviously I come from the business and investing world. Like if everyone is jumping onto crypto, like by the time you have all the information to make a perfect decision, it's too late. And by the time you have consensus where everyone's like, that's a good investment, it probably isn't. Because it's already been mispriced, because it's already inflated and it's above what its intrinsic value is. And so like good investors fundamentally can think for themselves. And it's such an easy thing to say and such a hard thing to do. And so it's being able to say, if I shut myself in a room and I had to come up with a value for something and just use my own mind to come up with what I think this is worth, it's that answer that you get in a room, in isolation, with no internet connection, that you believe in that number more than every single other person's. And most people can't do that. But like that ability, and then what happens though is if you really have to believe in that rather than everyone else's, you double check your fucking math. Because if it is different than everyone else's, you have that is what opportunity looks like. Right. And it's like, and you have the potential to make a shitload of money or lose a ton of money because you didn't check your math. And so the more I've been reinforced for thinking independently, and in the beginning it's on small things, and then you just continue to reinforce that cycle of, I came to this conclusion on my own. It seems different than everyone else's, but I think my thing makes sense. So I'm going to do that. Version thinking, which is where you solve problems in reverse. So for example, if you want to have a good marriage, rather than asking the question, how do I have a good marriage? You ask the question, how would it destroy my marriage? And then you list out all the ways to destroy your marriage, and then you do the exact opposite of that. And what's interesting is that our brains are much better at finding problems than they are at finding solutions. And so what we do is we harness this innate ability that we have to find the problems, and then after finding every possible problem we can imagine, every threat imaginable, which evolutionarily we're designed to look for, then flip that in reverse to find our solutions, all right? And this is a process of thinking that I've applied to business, I've applied it to marriage, I've applied to a lot of different aspects of my life, and I would encourage you to do it as well. The first and best way to stay poor is to start tomorrow. So whatever it is that you wanna do, whether it's losing weight, saving money, starting that business, whatever it is to start tomorrow, all right? So that's the best thing you can do to stay poor is just start tomorrow, okay? The next one is to read lots of books. and then do nothing. All right, because it's one of the, lots of people talk about reading books, and I see people all the time that I've seen for years in the exact same position posting I'm reading 52 books this year. That's my commitment. Instead of reading 52 books, maybe just read one book and actually do something about it. Crazy, I know. Number 3, take advice from poor people on how to be rich. All right, so think about that for a second. A lot of us surround ourselves, or at least I did when I was starting out, surround ourselves with people who are very poor, and we listen to their advice on how to be rich, and they have no idea what they are doing. And we also listen to their judgment on why our idea is stupid, even though they are poor. So what would they know? So number 3, take advice from poor people on how to be rich. Number 4, this is a big one. Pick a spouse who will make you feel guilty for working. All right, so you have your dreams, you have these things you want to pursue, but this person is saying you shouldn't do that, you need to be doing X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 and then you feel like you need to compromise your dreams for that person. The problem is that you put your power of your destiny in their hands, and you're asking for permission instead of support, right? Because at the end of the day, if you don't accomplish your dreams and you did it because of them, who do you think you're going to resent? So you owe it to yourself and you owe it to your marriage to pick people who are going to support you in your dreams, even if they don't necessarily agree, right? But more easily, not put your power in somebody else, right? Number 5, fail once, quit forever, all right? So as soon as you do actually start to decide doing something, you fail immediately and say, I guess this isn't for me. I guess success isn't for me. I guess business isn't for me. I guess sales isn't for me. I guess whatever the thing isn't for me because you failed once. But it's because we have an incorrect view of failure. Because failure is a necessary part, and the thing is you learn from failure. And so it's either you win or you learn. But that is the 5th thing you want to do if you want to stay poor forever. Number 6 is think that the world is fair. So a lot of us especially me earlier on, I would complain, I'd be like, that's not fair, this is fair, it shouldn't be this way, blah, 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 blah. And the thing is that all that complaining that I did nothing at all, whatsoever. Did nothing. And so the thing is there's no activity that comes from blaming your circumstances, which just so happens to be the 7th one of how to stay poor is blame your circumstances and complain, all right? Complaining about things that you cannot control. And the thing is these sound so obvious, but think about these in reverse again. So if the contrary of thinking the world is fair is assume the world is fair, or it's unfair, assume the world is unfair, and then act accordingly. Instead of blaming your circumstances, you thank your circumstances for who you are and what they gave you. You are who you are because of the shit that you have gone through, right? There's a saying, your mess is your message. And I think it's a very beautiful saying, because how sad would it be to wish to have a life of ease and comfort? Because strong character is built through hard times. And so if we want to have strong character, we basically must have a hard life for periods of time or for seasons. And so we can't lament the thing that creates the outcome. You can't lament the heat and the beating of the hammer to strengthen the steel, right? They go they go hand in hand. And so we just have to accept them for what they are. And as for complaining, I think you can just accept and move on.